The following is a conversation with Peter Deatsch. He is a person who helps people in recovery from alcohol abuse and drug abuse and other substance abuse and other trauma as well. In America, there are over 15 million people who are affected by alcohol abuse. There are over 21 million people who suffer from substance abuse of another kind, yet less than 10% of people ever seek treatment in their lives, which means that over 30 million people in this nation are going through some form of drug abuse, alcohol abuse, traumatic abuse, and never seek help, and as a result, pay the ultimate price prematurely in their life. Peter's work goes to try to prevent things like that from happening and to try to give people a second chance at life. I myself have plenty of experience in the drug abuse, alcohol abuse world, especially on the alcohol side, and very familiar with the mental health aspects that come with this level of personal traumatic abuse. My friends, if you are struggling out there, you are not alone. There's always somebody out there who is willing to sit down and listen to you and help you through your life and through your problems. You just have to be able to pick up the phone and give them a phone call. This conversation with Peter is a very emotional one and takes several tries and will likely take you several tries to get through the entire conversation. But if you can, you will come out through the other side much stronger with a much better appreciation for the beauty that is the human life, because at the end of the day, we are all humans and we are all amazing, beautiful creatures. Now, my friends and family, you are not alone. In this following conversation, I hope it makes you realize that more than ever, we live in an amazing world with amazing ways to connect with one another and to grow one another and to build powerful communities. The following is a conversation with Peter Deatsch. Thank you. Welcome, Peter.
How are we doing?
How you doing, brother? Welcome.
Good.
Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No, it's my pleasure because as most of the viewers know, I'm a, you could actually put the microphone up a little bit higher. Yeah, right there. All right, so like most of my viewers know, I'm in recovery. I live a sober lifestyle, and I do volunteer work with the Phoenix Group Sober Recovery Program, which you're a part of as well. Mm-hmm. But you do a lot more work outside of the Phoenix for sober recovery as well, and you probably do more than anyone else I know, which includes Brittany and Caleb, which is crazy because their work is literally international. But like, from an individual workman standpoint, you do a tremendous amount. And I kind of want to get to know a little bit more about what you do and the impact that you're having on society, and just at least in Tampa, or at least in Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg, Clearwater area.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah. Where do you want me to start?
So first off, so I have a vague idea of what you do, so I don't want to butcher that on camera. So I'll let you describe what it is that you do.
Okay. So right now I'm working for a sober living home. It's called Associate Recovery Communities, and I do outreach and admissions for them. So mostly it is anyone that is interested in sober living wants to come in. I do assessments with them, talk to them on the phone, see where they're at in life. If they're coming out of a detox or a rehab. Some are even homeless on the streets, and I got to talk to them, see where they're at with everything, and see if they qualify for our program coming into it. So, and then I also, I'll go to detox centers, rehabs, different centers like that, and go see the discharge planners and counselors and stuff like that, introduce myself, and then talk about our program and what we have to offer. So it's basically what I do for Associate Recovery Communities. I mean, there's a lot more to it on a day-to-day basis, dealing with the residents on a day-to-day basis, and them coming into the office and just talking sobriety in general. Anyone that has any issues, residents coming in, struggling with something, maybe they'll come in, or if they need, bus passes or anything like that, come into the offices for that.
Is it just alcohol, or is it does it include substances as well and other traumas?
Yeah, we are strictly substance. We do bring in dual diagnosed, but it's mostly substance abuse.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone's just looking for a mental health thing, we need to refer them out to someone else if it's just mental health.
Gotcha. All right, so I guess we'll start this off with why do you do what you do?
So before I started this job, I had a bunch of different jobs when I first moved down here almost 3 years ago, and they were never really fulfilling. You know what I mean? I did construction, I did sales, I did working in a warehouse and doing coordinating crews to go out to different jobs and stuff like that for a flooring company.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing was just ever satisfying. I never got any fulfillment out of the work that I was doing. So when I was offered this position, I thought, this is awesome. I'm in recovery myself, and I love helping people. So what better way to get some fulfillment out of work of just coming in? And I was like, I'll give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen is this isn't for me, and I got to try to find something else to do. But it's just rewarding every day trying to help people. And if someone calls up and I can't help them and they're not a right fit for our program, I have the resources and make phone calls, give them different phone numbers or whoever else they might be able to contact so they can get help. Not just leaving them hanging, going nope, sorry, can't help you, and hang up on them. It's like, hey,
not just tossing them back.
Not just tossing them back. It's like, what can we do for you? What, where are you looking for? I think you might need this, or if they know what they need and we're not the place, then I can get them phone numbers and direct them where to go. And it's like, hey, if none of these phone numbers work, they can't help you, call me back. I'll see what I can do for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's been very rewarding. I've liked it.
So this isn't just like a halfway house for people who just left a clinic or something. This is something deeper, or?
No, it is sober living.
Mm-hmm.
So our program is 12-step based. So guidelines for our program require 12-step meetings, AA or NA, every day of the week for them.
Okay. For people who don't know what 12-step is,
the 12 AA
mm-hmm.
principles and steps, AA steps, NA steps, either one of those.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to go to these types of meetings, be it AA meetings or NA meetings, every day of the week. We want them getting a sponsor, working through the steps and progressing through the recovery that way.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we do, it is, it's not cheap rent. I get the people who are like, hey, I can't find an apartment and I'm just, I want to come live there. We want to save our beds for those people struggling with the alcohol and substance abuse disorder.
Do you get people who come in and they pretend to be on in recovery, just looking for a cheap place to live?
We try to screen the best we can to try to avoid that, but we've had people, when they get in there, it's like they're doing the bare minimum and not, just trying to skate by with our program guidelines.
Mm.
So.
Okay. So so tell me a little bit about your personal with recovery. How
Mm-hmm.
How did you end up in? Just how did you end up on this path of recovery?
Okay. I always struggled with alcohol. Alcohol was my biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I started young, early teens, drinking, smoking a lot of weed and stuff like that in my younger days, making that a priority when I was in high school, before sports and athletics and school and other things like that. And I was a blackout drinker.
Mm.
So when we were partying over the weekends, I was usually the first one out. So, there weren't a whole lot of consequences for me up until I was 20 years old. Even through high school and everything, I never got in trouble with school. I maintained decent grades, even good enough to continue to play sports, even though I wasn't the best athlete. I was prioritizing other stuff over that. And when I was 20 years old, I got my first DUI.
Mm-hmm. At how old?
20.
Wow.
Yeah. And then it was kind of a slap on the wrist for me. And then about 9 months later, about 7 or 8 months later, after I got off probation, I wrecked the car drinking. Didn't get in any trouble for that. Completely totaled. And then a month after that, I got a third DUI with another wrecked car. All before I was 21 years old.
All in 1 year?
Yes, all in 1 year. So I was convicted after I turned 21 for my second DUI. And that was the first time like I had to like distance myself from friends and stuff and go, I don't want to go back to jail for a year. Like, I did 20 days in jail and it was enough for me at the time to scare me sober a little bit. And that was the first time I like picked up a weight and started exercising for real. And I saw that I really enjoyed it. So I continued exercising and everything, but after I got off probation and everything like that, I just went right back to drinking. And saw the gains and everything that I had with that, just lost. I bought a house when I was 23. Neighbor I moved next door to was a caterer, and we just had parties all the time. He had a pool in his backyard, and I was making good money in a fabricating shop, doing piecework and stuff, and it was just, we were partying all the time. And I worked in restaurants for a long time up before that factory job. And there was a lot of drug use and drinking and everything like that in there too. So, but I continued. I didn't really have any consequences again. Just lots of blackout drinking, lots of just struggling with depression and stuff like that. I don't know.
You wouldn't say that those were consequences?
Those were consequences, but no like legal consequences.
No legals.
No legal consequences.
Gotcha. No Uncle Sam knocking at your door.
No losing jobs. No, financially I was still living paycheck to paycheck, even though I was making significantly more money then than I am now, and my bills are much higher now than it was back then. Funny how that works, right? And I was never satisfied. I was never grateful for anything that I had. I was always wanting more, of stuff. I had a house and 2 cars, and like I just thought like if I continued to get more stuff, I would be happy, but I wasn't. And just trying to people please and trying to get people to like me, and it was just spiraling out of control. Couldn't afford to live in my house anymore, even though I was making good money, so I decided to rent it out. Moved in with a friend of mine, renting a room from him, basically living rent free with how much I was getting from my renters, and struggling with depression, put on a lot of weight. I got up to like 300 pounds, living with a buddy of mine, and I was just, again, not grateful for anything that I had, and got into a serious depression, even to a point where I was like locked in a room with a pistol, just like ready to just end it. So that I think is like my low, even though I didn't get sober right after that. It was I couldn't do that to my family and friends is really what came down to it. The consequences of me doing that was going to affect more people than me. So I kind of snapped out of it, for lack of better terms, and started exercising again, because that's what I saw as an outlet for me to get better. And started exercising and getting better, and I moved out of that place into another, got out of that environment, moved in. Fortunately, a buddy of mine, his mother-in-law suite on his house was available, and I went and started living there on my own, and a little more freedom and privacy, and was trying to be good, trying to not drink during the week, trying to only drink one night on the weekends, and just, but I found myself drinking at home alone, like waking up in the morning and like there's 13, 14 empty beers on the counter, like, and I'm drinking these by myself, and empty bottles of liquor and stuff like that. And I just wasn't happy and grateful for anything that I had. And I was trying to be good one night, and I ended up getting the 3rd DUI. This was now almost 5 years ago that I got in trouble. So it was a good distance between my 2nd and 3rd. I got charged as a first offense, but they still slapped me with some pretty good punishments for it. And when I was sitting in jail that morning, it was just like I need to change something. Something in my life has to change. I just don't know what it is. Do I need to quit drinking? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I really love this craft beer that I have with dinner. Do I want to give that up? My lawyer had told me, he's like, go to this place, get an assessment done, and just do whatever it is. That way you look good in front of the judge, right? Mm-hmm. And I went in and I started lying on the questions, and of course, it didn't matter. Like, all my answers, it was still I had to do an IOP 3 nights a week, 3 hours a night.
An IOP?
Intensive outpatient care for drug and alcohol abuse. And I was so mad at the counselor when she told me I had to get IOP, like I was yelling at her like it was her fault. And I had to apologize to her after I went in and just like, I'm sorry I blew up on you. And she's like, that's not even the worst I've seen. But yeah. So, but that was a really eye-opening experience for me, and they made me start going to AA. And I didn't like it at first. I was fortunate I had a friend who had 10 years of sobriety at the time.
Awesome.
Who I was like, dude, where do I go? Like, what meeting am I gonna like? Because I did it like when I had the 2 DUIs, and I went in there and I sat in the back of the room. I didn't like participate. I got my paper signed and I walked out for courts. That's it. I didn't do anything with it. So there was no picking up a chip back then or anything. I just like, if they would sign my paper before the meeting, I would get it signed and I'd walk out the door. So this time around was a little different. I sat in the room, listened, and then they started talking about God, and I was like, like, this is not for me. I was raised Catholic, and I was not a big fan of religion in general. So, that's what I thought it was when I walked in the door. And so I called my buddy afterwards. I'm like, why did you send me to this meeting? Like, they were talking about God. He's like, whoa, like it's a spiritual thing. Don't, come with me to a meeting on Sunday. So, but, I went to that meeting, and there was a bunch of guys on a Friday night at 7 o'clock laughing, joking around, having a good time without any alcohol. And I'm like, they got to be doing something else, right? Like, who's having a good time on a Friday night like this without any alcohol? And they're laughing and joking around and just busting each other's balls. And it was like a good atmosphere before the meeting, and even after the meeting, talking and chatting with people. I had an attitude, like an eye-opening experience through IOP of like the different things they made us do, of like writing down all the consequences we had of drinking, the history of drinking, like our patterns and all that stuff. And for the first few months I was going to AA meetings, I was just introducing myself as Pete. Like, I'm Pete. Like, I'm not Pete alcoholic. I'm Pete. Yeah. I didn't want to give myself that label. I didn't want to. I thought an alcoholic was that person living underneath a bridge, drinking out of the paper bag, digging out of the trash cans and stuff. I'm like, I'm not that bad. So a few DUIs and some wrecked cars, and this I'm not bad. I started going to this beginners meeting where beginners would go in the back and they'd go through the first 3 steps, and that's when I first called myself an alcoholic, and I didn't even realize it until after I said it. We're going around like introducing each other, and I'm like, I'm Pete, I'm an alcoholic, and I was like, and then like it just felt like this weight lifted off of my shoulders, like, and I can breathe again, like, and that was after multiple weeks of going in a row and just sharing and dumping like what I'm going through.
You didn't even plan to say it; it just came out.
Yeah. So I figured at that point it was like, what? Things seem to be getting better for me. What they're telling me is starting to come true. I'm like, I have to be here. I might as well stick it out and put some effort into it and see what happens. What's the worst that can happen? I quit drinking.
Oh my.
And yeah, right. And that's what happened. I quit drinking, and it ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me. So. My sobriety date is actually coming up at the end of the month. I'll have 5 years on the 27th, God willing. So, but
that's fucking awesome.
So thanks. 2 years, about 2 years into my recovery is when I decided to move down here to Florida. I talked about it with my sponsor. I talked about it with my fellowship. I talked about it with my family of like, am I ready to do this? Like, I don't know anyone. I'm probably going down there without a job. Like, it's a scary situation, right? Like, and all the stuff I had to do before I did that is I ended up having to evict renters out of my house, which I didn't want to do, and that was a lengthy process. Thank God I was sober through that, because if I had been drinking, I probably would have responded to text messages and phone calls in a different way and done stuff irresponsibly. But thankfully, I had someone in the program who had been through evictions before, and they owned properties, and they told me exactly what I needed to do, and it was a breeze.
Call the sheriff's office.
So it was just a It was a lengthy process, but it got done. So I came down here on a vacation, checked out some areas in Tampa, Clearwater, Pinellas Park, St. Pete, and stuff like that. I was down here for a week, going to 3 or 4, 5 different apartment complexes every day, and going to do a meeting every single night I was down here, and meeting different people every single night. And Friday night, 7 o'clock, it was when my home group was up north, so I'm like, I got to go to a meeting Friday night at 7 o'clock. Like, that's where I've been going for the last couple of years. Like, I got to do it. And I found a meeting Friday night at 7 o'clock. It was an open discussion. My meeting up north was a men's meeting, but this one down here was open. And it was a great meeting. And afterwards, I hung out a little bit afterwards, and someone's like, hey, we're going to grab some pizza. You want to come? Sure. Something that I don't normally do with people that I don't know. But I'm like, sure, why not? I'll go. And everyone's like, yeah, if you move down here, just, here's our number, give us a call, And the next day, I went to another men's meeting early in the morning. A bunch of old timers. I was the youngest one there. Everyone was probably like 65 and older, and most of them had probably 20 plus years of sobriety, besides me and a handful of other, like 2 maybe other people. And they're like, oh yeah, come to breakfast with us. And I was like, okay, and all of those old guys, it was great sitting at breakfast with them and hearing like their stories, and they all gave me their numbers and stuff. But when I moved down here, like that group at Friday night at 7 o'clock, that's been my home group since I came down here.
New home group.
And I've been hanging out with them and talking to them since I moved down here. So I had to do the right things when I got down here. If I would have just came down here and bought a place, or got into an apartment and not done that fellowship thing, who knows what I would have done? Because I took the money that I had from the house and a lot of money in my pocket, and beach and everything like that, pina coladas and margaritas and on the beach, could have sounded very nice, but
Tampa Bay is a bit of a party area.
Yes.
It actually blows my mind that we've built such a powerful sober community in an area like Tampa Bay, Tampa Bay including like Clearwater and Pinellas and everything. And
well, the recovery community is huge down here.
It's huge.
There is probably between AA and NA almost 1,000 meetings a week just in Pinellas County.
Wow.
Crazy.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So I found that out when I went on the aapinellas.org, and I started scrolling through all these different meetings, and I'm like, just on one day from 6 in the morning until midnight almost, you can find meetings down here, every day of the week. It's crazy. Yeah. So you can throw a stone and hit a meeting somewhere.
Yeah. I go to one in Brandon every so often. I'm not a huge fan of meetings personally myself. I've found, but I'm a huge supporter of them. Like, I don't like sitting there. It shocks some people, but just sitting there and talking about my feelings still feels tremendously weird to me. And I don't. And I know that when I go there, I don't have to say anything. I can just sit there and just be quiet the entire time.
Yeah.
But I feel compelled that I have to say something. And
sure.
Each time I go, it's a like, I struggle to get there, but once I'm in there, I'm like, cool. This is so dope, so awesome. Yep. And then I feel good leaving it. And then for some reason I don't go for like another 3 months. It's really bad.
And AA, I say AA has worked for me. It's not for everyone. There's a lot of different paths to recovery, and I'm supportive of any of them. You know what I mean? As long as it's keeping someone from putting a needle in their arm or a drink in their mouth, like, hey, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
So the drug use and everything like that, it's been close, to me, family and friends and everything like that too. So it's just, it's wonderful to see, like you said, just that support and the recovery down here in a party area like Tampa is just, it's awesome. So, and finding the Phoenix was amazing too.
Oh, yeah.
When I got down here. When I got down here, I was like, I thought this was like a new path for me. Like, I need a new beginning, like a new, like, I want to find that job that, is fulfilling. Like, I have a purpose. I want to do something, right? And I moved down here in November 2019.
And 3 months later,
COVID. Exactly. So it was, I started looking up, like, I found fitness in recovery. Like, I found fitness when I first tried, got sober at 21, but that was only to stay out of trouble. And I liked it, and I continued doing it for a long time, even though I was doing it, like, all of the drinking and drugs and everything like that, just like completely wiped out all the hard work that I did during the week. but I still kind of kept that habit, you know, and my weight would go up and down and up and down. And but since sobriety is when I was able to like really maintain and be healthy. And I struggled with, you know, body issues and eating stuff, you know what I mean? Like never like specific eating disorders or anything like that, but just a relationship with food was a struggle for me. So sugar in particularly, you know, which a lot of people struggle with. But so I started looking up, I'm like, well, I want to help people. I like being healthy. I started looking like personal trainer certifications, sober gym, like I Googled sober gym, and that's when I found the Phoenix. I was like, oh, is there like an actual sober gym down here? And it's like, no, they don't have a brick and mortar. Like,
we're working on that.
Yeah, we're working on that. With hopefully some more donations and big donations come in, and we can work on that. Tampa would be great for it. So I started going to, at that time down there, you know, they only had like CrossFit Sunday mornings. Mm-hmm. So I went to that a couple times and wanted to be more involved with it, and then COVID hit and everything was, you know, everything got put on hold. And I still wasn't working. It wasn't until like January of 2020 that I actually started working. End of January 2020, I actually started working. Someone in the rooms doing residential construction needed some help, and he asked me if I was still looking for work, and I said yeah, and that stayed busy during COVID. That's you good. Know, so that kept me busy for a little while. Then things started opening up, and I was like, okay, this isn't something that I want to do the rest of my life. What can I do? So I'm like, try something new. Gyms still weren't like in the best shape. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm working on my personal trainer certification and stuff like that. Maybe when everything opens up, it'll be a good time to jump back into it. And I started working as a salesman for a flooring company, which I'd never done sales before, but I'm like, why not give it a shot, right? Mm-hmm. And I was pretty good at it. I was doing well. It was fun going into people's homes and meeting new people every day and talking to people.
So you were door knocking?
I wasn't door knocking. They set up appointments. They called the company. They made an appointment, and then the managers would send the sales guys to that appointment. Okay. So the leads were already set up for us. But I could generate my own leads and own business and stuff like that too. So, and it was fun. Driving around with a couple 100 pounds of samples in my car and being in the car for 12 hours a day, I didn't think was something that I would be able to do long term. Mm-hmm. And I ended up taking a job in the office as an install coordinator. Wasn't real thrilled with that job, getting up real early in the morning. At that time it was real early, it was 4 a.m. for me. Driving across the bridge to Tampa every day, long hours, and company cell phone and computer that I had to take home, and it was draining. Yeah. Things were getting better. It was progressively getting better, and things were getting easier, and it was nice. Great people that I was working with, but I still wasn't being, I didn't have the fulfillment that I was looking for. Yeah. I had gotten so busy that I let the personal trainer cert. I didn't lapse. I just never finished the course. So I had so much time to do it, and I didn't finish it in that time because I was so focused on other stuff. So I was like, I gotta find something closer to home, a little bit more fulfilling, and that's when a buddy of mine offered me the position where I'm at now, and I jumped on it. I thought about it, prayed about it. Do I want to work for a friend? Would it ruin a relationship and stuff like that? Mm-hmm. But it's been great since, and I've been able to. Since then, I got my personal trainer certification and then also a nutrition coaching certification as well in that meantime. And I'm trying to use those. I've been utilizing that with the Phoenix, doing fitness classes for them in collaboration with another nonprofit that I'm working with, Recovery Epicenter. They're based in Pinellas County as well. Doing fitness classes for them. I'm doing nutrition classes with the Recovery Epicenter. The residents in our home is real convenient for them because they live like right where the office is. Mm-hmm. But anyone with any struggle or anyone that needs Recovery Epicenter resources can utilize it. It's not just for our residents. and I'll touch a little bit more base on that here in a little bit. But so I've been doing that and trying to get more into the health and fitness space as well. So I actually just started working at a gym in the morning too as a trainer. So trying to get my feet wet in the door there too.
Is it like one of those like HIIT gyms or?
Yeah, it's called F45.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, we have one of those right around.
So I know I walked right by it coming here. It was closed, but I took a peek inside. So, but it's a lot of fun and a lot of great members and great managers, and it's just upbeat and a lot of fun. It's tons of fun. So you weren't always this like big jacked powerhouse I'm seeing right now. Then like you went through a. Not really, no. I was kind of always a bigger guy, and again, I didn't like lift a weight or do anything until I was 21, for fun. But growing up, there was a lot of manual labor that we were doing, splitting wood and hauling wood and all kinds of different things that, me and my brother were always bigger guys, and we got our strength that way, doing stuff like that. But I started lifting when I was 21. And then I running a lot. And then I would say when I first got sober, right before I got sober, when I was trying to be good, is when I really started lifting heavier. I always had a gym in my basement or where I was at, so I didn't have to go to a gym. I was always lifting at home. I was afraid to go to gyms when I first started working out, I always had the body image issues and like I'm afraid I'm going to go there and people are going to be looking at me and making fun of me for what I'm doing. And it's like now you go to the gym and it doesn't matter like who's watching you or what I don't care. I'm doing my thing. I know I'm doing it right, but I don't have those kinds of issues anymore.
I read this. It was one of those memes on Instagram, the ones that get shared. It said. In your 20s, you fear what everyone thinks about you. In your 30s, you learn not to fear what everyone thinks about you. In your 40s, you learn that nobody was actually thinking about you.
Yep, that is so true.
Yeah,
it is. It really is true because everyone has that fear of being judged and what's this other person thinking of me. And it's like, who cares what this schmo thinks about who's on the treadmill next to me, who's focusing on his workout, and he doesn't care what you're doing. Yeah. He's focusing on his workout and what he's doing.
Because if he cared what you were doing, he wouldn't be on the treadmill, or even in the gym for that matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a moment like that earlier last year actually, because I was at Walmart. I was just buying like athletic shirts, and I'm a smaller dude. I wear small. Most people in America are not small, so they had like such a limited selection. So they have a black one and a pink one, and it was like hot pink. It was like bright out loud pink, and I actually stood there. I'm like.
Just buy it. Yeah.
And then I realized like I kind of had like an existential moment where I was talking to myself like, the guys at the gym, they're not even gonna care. So let me just buy this pink shirt and wear it at the gym. And it just has become my favorite shirt to wear because it fits
awesome.
So well, so comfortable. And nobody at the gym says a damn thing. And what's really interesting, something I actually learned a couple months ago, pink in Thailand is a sign of manliness. So like so like if you see a man wearing pink, like that's a tough dude. Like you don't mess with him. Like that guy will fuck you up.
Yeah.
So I'm like, which makes me like love my pink shirt even more when I'm at the gym.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's great because even in like going into meetings and stuff like that, when I first started going into it, it's like everyone in those meetings is there for the same reason. Everyone at the gym is there for the same reason. They're trying to better themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if someone's coming up to you and they're being negative towards you about what shirt you're wearing, it's like they obviously have issues that they need to deal with, right? So I've learned to just who cares? Who cares what they think? Yeah. So it's a lot easier living that way.
It's so much easier.
So, yep.
Yeah. It's have you ever read The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson?
No, but it is in my Amazon. I got a whole list of books on my Amazon, save for later that I want to buy. And that's one of those. Absolutely.
10 out of 10. Got it.
Yeah.
I don't know what's on that list, but you gotta escalate it.
I got to look at that because I can't even remember which one I was going to start reading. one I haven't read that I always wanted to was like Think and Grow Rich. I think is the one that
that's the dynamite one.
Yeah, and I've read a lot of them. So back in September last year is when I really had to like look at what am I doing with my life again, kind of thing of like I want to get back on this path, right? And I put on a little bit of weight, didn't realize it, and of just so much work and stuff like that, getting out of my routine and unhealthy eating habits, and lack of sleep causes me the cravings of crappy food and stuff like that, and I put on weight and I didn't realize it. So back in September is when I started focusing on exercise again, and then when I started with the sober living home that I'm at, I really focused on it, and it was I needed like motivation, right? So I started listening to different YouTube motivational things, reading books and stuff like that, which never really done in sobriety. You know what I mean? I hated reading growing up. When I was real little, I liked reading, like 10, 11 years old, even before that. But in high school, drinking was more important than reading. All through my drinking, I couldn't hold my attention in a book. I was watching movies and stuff, but I really fell in love with reading. So I'd read self-help books, self-help as in like
Tony Robbins.
I do have a Tony Robbins book. I can't remember what it's called.
Awaken the Giant Within?
No. I can't remember what it is. But I read books like How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yep. Great book.
I read as some motivation David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me.
Oh, that's one of the greats.
Yeah. I mean, watching videos with like him and who are these other guys? I can't even think of their names right now, but just these motivating videos. And then some of them would be like mashups of different people, even like Steve Harvey, and his story is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
How he became successful. And I started listening to these in the morning when I was working out and just getting me motivated to do more stuff. And I lost the weight that I'd put on, and I'm like, well, what's something that I can do that's going to push me to the next level and hold me accountable and things like that. And I started talking with someone at my home group after home group, and we were just talking. I started running again, and I was running longer distances. I was like, started at 3 miles. I'm like, I don't really need to run more than 3 miles, right? And I started running further and further and further. And I was talking with this woman after my home group, and she brought up triathlon and how she used to do them. And then I went on that meetup app, and I'm like, I need to meet new people and go out and just venture out of my little bubble that I have right now. And different people I met throughout the week, like without even bringing anything up, mentioned triathlon, and I'm like, you know what, I got to sign up for that. Let me look this up. So I looked one up, and the first one that popped up was like the day before my birthday, and it was like 4 months away at the time. I'm like, I got to sign up for it. So I just signed up for it because one of the things I saw online it was called like the Spartan effect, where it's like or the Spartan paradox. The Spartan paradox, where it's like you have this race, and it's like, I am going to get in shape. When I'm in shape, I'm going to do this race.
No, that's not how that works.
It's not how it works.
That's not
You sign up for it, and then you're forced to do the work and get in shape and prepare yourself for that race. You have to put it on the calendar. So I put it on the calendar, and I trained. I got into Sporta membership, and I jumped in the pool, and I did one lap, and I'm like, this sucks. Swimming sucks. So I had to seek out help with swimming, because I could run, I could bike, and I could learn that, but swimming was tough. So I was fortunate to find, through the St. Pete Running Company, was going down to a pool down in St. Pete. Every day I started going Monday through Friday, swimming. I'd wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'd get down there at 5, and I would be in the pool until like 6:30, swimming every morning. Mm-hmm. And it was something that, like Dave and Goggins says, you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Yes. Do things you don't like, and that's what I was doing. Like I hated it, but it was a mind over, mind control thing, like he talks about. I remember being in the pool and swimming, and I just remember telling myself, man, this really sucks and I hate it. And like my body just like shut down. And I had to like stop and just like regroup myself and just go like, okay, like here's what I need to do, and just one lap at a time, because it was just so hard for me at the time. And I trained for it, and I started like doing all this crazy stuff and preparing for it, and the race ended up getting canceled the day of, so I never got to do it. And I had like I had already planned like my next, like, here's what I want to do when that's done. Mm-hmm. Like my goal was never to continue to do triathlons or continue to run them or whatever it was, but it got canceled the day of, and I'm like, well, I'm going on vacation in a couple weeks on a cruise, and like I picked a date later on that they let me use my fees towards, and I'm not even prepared for that one because it's in September and I haven't done any running. So
September's around the corner.
Yeah, I know. So I'm just probably going to let it lapse, and they can consider it a donation. But what I learned through that process was just, it was so crucial for me of just like what I'm capable of and what I'm able to do, what mentally I can push myself and do, and what physically I can, but also like listening to myself. Like a friend of mine, she was like, you're overtraining. Like I'm not seeing any gains. I'm like, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I'm not seeing any gains on this, and I'm not getting any better at this. And it was like, that's when I like first found out like what overtraining was. Mm-hmm. And it was putting me at risk for injury and just not doing anything. I was even just from the motion of swimming, it was something that my body wasn't used to, and I had a bull's disc in my neck, and sharp pain going down my arm, and I thought that was going to set me back. I got COVID during the whole training and everything like that, and
that doesn't ruin your lungs.
But no, it didn't. But
you got lucky.
It was it was a great experience. Just again, I met a lot of great people down at the pool, swimming in the pool, who helped me out. It was again like something I would have never done before, and I jumped in the pool and I met a bunch of great people. Going to spin classes, for biking, and meeting a lot of great people, stuff that I normally wouldn't do. So it was just fun doing. It kept me accountable, it kept me disciplined, which is something that I learned. It was like getting up every morning, going to the pool, coming home, I was studying from my personal trainer, certain everything on top of that. So I was just bombarding myself with all of this stuff and pushing myself and just finding out exactly what I was capable of. And it was a great experience. Would I sign up for another triathlon and do it? Maybe. Right now it's not in the cards. It would be way too much on my plate right now, but.
Yeah, for sure. Because you're about to do a Tough Mudder, or?
I have to sign up for it. My friend's kind of mad at me because I haven't signed up for it. It's coming up on actually my sobriety date, the 27th. I can't remember the name of the race, but
it's one of those.
It's one of those
obstacles.
Yeah, it's like a Spartan or mud run, some kind of mud run obstacle race I got coming up. So I've done a couple of those savage races.
So all this like learning of your physicality and your mental preparedness and just mental growth and just going through the struggle, how much of that translates over into what you do over at the Sober Living group?
Oh, that's a good question. It helps in recovery. There's a lot of stuff with fitness and nutrition that can relate with recovery, because with recovery, you got to be disciplined with a lot of stuff in recovery, and you're on a different routine, you're on a different schedule, you're doing a lot of different things that you weren't doing before. You know what I mean? You could have been running the streets and robbing people and doing all that stuff,
all kinds of ignorant things.
Yeah, and dealing with emotions, and and now when you get sober, you get your feelings back, right? So when you got different emotions and stuff like that, and the mental aspect of it, it was tough for me when I first came in, of that obsession for a drink, of like, they told me just don't drink today. Just whatever you do, don't drink today. And they gave you tools of what you need to do if you want to have a drink. You need a fellowship, you need to call people, help people, go to meetings, like all of these different things will help you. And if you're doing that throughout praying, something I never thought I would do ever, finding that higher power. But just a kind of a mental toughness aspect of it as well. Realizing that all of your thoughts that you have aren't always true.
Yeah.
So you can just be typing away on a report at work, and a random thought pops up in your head, and it's like, it's coming out of your subconscious. It's not something that you just thought about on purpose, right? So recognizing those thoughts and going, well, that's a bullshit thought. You know what I mean? So I want to have a drink right now. No, I don't. Like recognizing that kind of stuff. Yeah, the mental aspect of it is huge, and the way you think about things, and the way you think about recovery, and the way you think about people are stressed out when they come into recovery. You know what I mean? When they first get sober, they think I have to do everything at one time. There's so much stuff, like, oh, I got to get a car back, I got to get this, I got to do that. It's like
it's anxiety inducing.
Yeah, very, very much so. And then they want to quit smoking, and they want to quit other things on top, and they just put all this pressure on themselves. It's like, whoa, slow down.
And they're setting themselves up for a failure.
They're setting themselves up for failure because they're putting way too much on their plate at one time. So it's like, I put a lot of stuff on my plate back then of training for the triathlon, getting my personal trainer cert, doing work, all of this different stuff that I wanted to get done. Where it's like, if I was in early sobriety and I was trying to bombard myself with that, it would have been no chance.
Yeah.
And that's what people are trying to do in early recovery. Is like, I got to find a job, I got to do this, I got to get my kids back, I got to, it's like, just slow down.
One step at a time.
One day at a time. Focus on yourself. What can I do right now to better myself and better my recovery? And and just like with the health aspect of stuff, it's like when you focus on yourself, and you're recovering what you need to do, like the rest of that stuff just comes naturally. It'll come to you. You can get your kids back. You start being more productive at work, and more money comes and raises come because you're more focused at work, because just naturally you're going to start to be a better person. You know what I mean? And just like I found out with health and nutrition, is I was always working out. When I first started working out, I had body images. Like, I hated being fat and what I looked like and all of that stuff, and that was my goal. Well, when I would hit that goal, it's like, I'm not happy with where that is. I want to lose 30 pounds. Well, I lose 30 pounds and I'm still not happy. I still don't look good. Mm-hmm. And then I can be like, that was all for nothing, and get pissed off, and then I start, and then I gain weight back, right? And you just spiral out of control. So it's like, okay, well, now I'm going to focus on me and myself, and I love myself, and I want a healthy life and a healthy body, and eat, because I care about myself. And when you eat healthy and you focus on that kind of stuff, the aesthetics and what you look like, that just comes naturally over time too, mm-hmm. right? So, but being disciplined on that aspect of it too. So.
Wow. So how many people do you actually see like new incoming a week over?
Well, we have 98 beds total. Wow. Between Clearwater and Pasco. There's male and female beds.
Separate.
But separate.
Good.
Yep.
Okay.
New coming in, we may have 5 a week. 5 new people a week come in. Mm-hmm. I've had, when I first started, I had weeks where we had 10 or 15 because our capacity was low at the time. And built it up, and it was just basically someone answering phone calls, returning phone calls, and going out and spreading the word.
Being an ambassador.
That's what they needed at the time, because it was so busy. There wasn't someone really able to return the phone calls of people that were leaving voicemails or looking at the applications online and stuff like that. So, but between Recovery Epicenter and that, there's tons of people we see every week. So Recovery Epicenter is a nonprofit that deals with peer support, Narcan distribution, all kinds of outreach stuff in Pinellas, Hillsborough, Pasco counties. What I'm doing with them is the fitness classes in collaboration with the Phoenix. Mm-hmm. We're doing those every Thursday night, 7 o'clock at the Ross Norton Rec Center. It's on the Phoenix app for people to sign up for. And then starting to do nutrition like classes, meetings. My first one's coming up on the 23rd, where I'm just going to teach anyone that can come, anyone that wants to come can come, but the residents, of course, being right there, will be the primary people there. But like just a nutrition 101, basics on nutrition, eating healthy habits, the effects that the drugs and alcohol have on people when they're, how they're nutrient deficient or whatever it might be when they're coming into early recovery.
Managing their microbiome or rebuilding it,
yeah,
because alcohol destroys it.
Yep. Oh, it destroys your liver, all kinds of stuff. And then organizing softball games for people in recovery as well.
Yeah.
So there's different sober living homes, different organizations, treatment centers and stuff like that are involved. We've had a few different games starting back in May, I think was our first game, or June. We've had a couple games every month. So we got another one tomorrow up in Pasco County, first one up in Pasco County. And then we got another one in collaboration with the Phoenix on the 21st. Awesome. So that one's on the app as well, if anyone wants to come and join us. It's going to be in Largo.
What's been like the most eye-opening experience you've had, not in your recovery, but with helping other people recover?
Ooh, most eye-opening experience?
Or some eye-opening experiences. You can take some time to think about that if you want.
Well, I'll tell you one of the first stories that I heard that was really eye-opening for me because I was a blackout drinker. And I like to drink and drive too, which obviously doesn't go well together. I want to say it was that meeting that my buddy took me to. After my first meeting, which was Friday night at 7 o'clock, where I called my buddy up and I'm like, dude, why did you send me this meeting? They're talking about God. I think it was the next meeting that he took me to on Sunday, where it was a men's meeting, and 60 guys or so in this room. And there was a speaker. I don't know if it was always a speaker meeting or they rotated, or I can't remember what it was, but there was an old man talking. I could barely hear the guy, barely understand him. He had an oxygen tank, and I was losing interest in his story. And it was just like, not paying attention. It was my second meeting, and I'm just like, whatever. And he gets to a part where he was in prison in Canada, and he woke up in prison in Canada, and he asked the Mounties, he's like, hey, when are you guys going to let me out of here? And they're like, we're not letting you out of here. And they're like, you don't remember what you did? And then he's like, no, what did I do? He's like, you murdered your wife.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So blackout drunk. And so it was like, what did you say? And it was just like all the different times, like, so my second DUI, I fell asleep at the wheel, blacked out, whatever, I fell asleep at the wheel, dozed off, passed out, really. I passed out at the wheel. I was driving a Mustang and I was going at a high speed. Mm-hmm. And I was lucky that the bend went this way and I was driving that way. I went off the road to the right instead of the bend goes this way and I go into the other lane, because I could have easily killed someone that night. And all the other times I was drinking and driving, and like I could have killed someone. So that was my fear, and it still kind of is my fear for the longest time. Is like I see my low at the time of being in the room with the pistol. I've had some lows since, not as low as that. But when I was quitting drinking and I got that third DUI, that's where I saw my life going, was back down to that. So I think if I were to go back out drinking, my absolute low would be killing a family, you know what I mean? Drinking and driving, and me sitting in prison. I'm still alive dealing with that the rest of my life. That was just a thought that was going through my mind. Is man, if I pick up another drink and I get in a car, that's what I like to do. So, but no, just other. And he, long story short, he was pardoned by the Queen and made it back into the States, and has been sober for, I don't know if the guy's still alive right now. He might have passed since, but over 30 years. So, there's been a ton. There's been a ton of stories of people living in a tent behind a dollar store, digging out of the trash can, don't have their kids, you know what I mean? And now they're 10 years sober, married with kids, and they got their kids back, and you know what I mean? So there's just a ton of great stories that I've heard over the years, but that was the first one where it was holy crap,
What are some other great stories? So many times when we enter this conversation, we have society, we focus on the bad parts, but I don't think there's enough success stories being told right now.
Yep.
I guess you and I sitting here right now having this conversation is a success story in itself.
It is. Absolutely.
My story was pretty boring compared to most other people's. Mine was just I just had a. I don't have so much of a problem with alcohol as I did with social anxieties, that I used alcohol as a lubricant to try to make myself more likable.
Sure. And
then if I ever did something dumb, I could always just tell people, yeah, I was drunk, But then I realized as I was I had social anxieties with alcohol and without alcohol. So what the fuck is alcohol doing for me?
Yeah. Yep.
And it, and this little shot cost $10. This bottle of water was $1.
Yeah.
This is saving me. This is destroying my liver. The fuck am I doing with myself?
Yeah.
And then a year later, after I had that conversation, I was still drinking just because just trying to be cool around people and having something to blame it on mattered more to me than than my own body.
And I think that's what a lot of people struggle with is they I'm going to have this beer because the cool kids are doing it and I want to fit in, or they have that social anxiety and it helps them loosen up so they can be more relaxed and meet people or whatever it might be. And it's that allergy takes over, you have that first drink and it's I can't stop. Yeah. That was my problem, I can't stop. I'd have one or two and then it'd be a fun night and it's okay, well, why the hell not? Let's have 10 or 12 more, so...
And the day I realized that I had an issue was when I realized when Rex Drunk became a hashtag amongst my friends.
Oh, okay.
On Instagram, and I clicked on it, and I was that's a lot of pictures of me passed out, and in a New York City subway station at 3:00 in the morning, which is the worst place to be passed out because fuck, anybody could have done whatever they wanted to me. Yep. And it was just picture after picture after picture of me just park bench, subway station, subway floor, hotel lobby floor. I didn't even make it in. And I just blanked there, my friend's house, whatever. And I'm just that's a lot of pictures.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It was. And I'm sure everyone has their. That's how I was, just blackout drinker and passed out first, and it wasn't fun for me at the end. I wasn't enjoying myself when I was drinking, even if I was going out and I was with family and friends. I could be sitting at the bar, having a beer and looking over and everyone's laughing and having a good time, and I'm this sucks. This sucks. But I'm still drinking anyway. Yeah. And then I'd go home and drink by myself, and wake up in the morning and be hungover and not motivated and don't want to do anything. And it was just a vicious cycle of I'm hungover and don't want to do anything. And then Monday comes and it's tired from the weekend. I didn't get a lot of sleep and I'm not going to work out today. And then it was just a progressive cycle, just a vicious cycle of just crappiness,
Yeah.
things just progressively getting worse. So, no, this is a much better way of living for me for sure.
Yeah, now you're like this, like big, like Hulk of a man. I mean, you look good.
Thanks. I was always telling myself, like, I never intended to, like, I'm not looking to be like a bodybuilder or anything, but I enjoy going to the gym, and how I feel afterwards and stuff like that. And this has been the effect of it. It was a form of meditation for me in sobriety. Going to the gym and being able to put on headphones and either listen to music or motivational speakers, entrepreneurs, whatever it might be, and listen to that stuff and feed myself with, positive thoughts and positive things, and not the negative crap. When I was training for the triathlon and stuff, it's like I shut my TV off and I didn't watch it for over a month. And I found myself more productive with reading and doing all kinds of other stuff. It's like, why don't I do this more often? Of just like hide the remote, take the batteries out, put it somewhere where you can't watch TV for a while. And it's just like, find out how much more productive you are. It's like, if someone hasn't done that, I suggest trying it, because it's like, I keep telling myself I need to do it, but I'm find myself not being as disciplined with that right now. So too many TV shows right now that I'm trying to catch up on. But with my schedule and everything, it's nice to just sometimes relax and not have that, like, I don't need to think about anything. Just like, I'm thinking about stuff, I'm planning stuff, and just being organized all week. Like, it's nice to just sit down and not have to do that for an hour,
Yeah.
So, because it's important having your time, not overworking yourself and stressing yourself out, but having having a morning routine as well as a nighttime routine. My morning routine, I'm still waking up at 4 o'clock, and even after my triathlon training, I was waking up at 4 in the morning. I was just used to it. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to be productive with my day. Waking up in the morning, working out, listening to podcasts, reading books, before my day even started. And I was just so focused and stuff in the morning.
Miracle morning?
Yeah, I would wake up and I would study for my nutrition certification, my personal trainer certification, before the day even started, because there was no distractions in the morning. I can get up, I can sit on my couch, and I can study and read and do stuff, because then I get to work and there's distractions all day at work. And then after work, I'm thinking about what happened at work, and I'm thinking about what I'm doing that night, and there's other things that I'm trying to plan. So by the time I lay down in bed at night, it's like I could read a couple paragraphs and be like, what did I just read? Like, there's so many other things going through my mind. It's like I'd have to go back and go, what did I just read?
Yeah.
Or in the morning, there's nothing, just silence. And I can sit down and be productive. So
let's say somebody's watching this right now and they want to begin their journey on their own, but they're not sure what to do. What would you tell them?
For recovery?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, if they know someone in recovery, call them. Find an AA meeting. If you're not sure if you're an alcoholic or a drug addict, or if you have a problem, there's people you can call. There's resources out there. If you're struggling, there's all kinds of different avenues and people that you can call. There's treatment centers. You can find a meeting. Like I said, there's 1,000 of them between AA and NA every week in Pinellas County alone. Mm-hmm. And it's welcoming. You go in there and people, hey, how are you? Shake your hand. You know what I mean? They're welcoming. They're not, judging and shameful and like.
You can't be judging if you're coming from that background.
Yeah. It's like when you come in there and you don't, you don't compare yourself to someone else. You relate to them. No, if they think that you can look up associate recovery communities and call the phone number. I'm in the office 10 to 5 Monday through Friday. You can put the contact information on your podcast if you want in the comments.
It'll be in the description below.
Yeah, for sure. and give them my work cell phone number, put that there, and call it. You know what I mean? Any resources I can give you for anything, I'd be happy to help out. So, but I'd say take a look and evaluate your life. You know, what are you struggling with? What are you going through? Are you a problem drinker? And just there's assessments and stuff like that you can find online if you really want to go that path too. Do I have a problem? You know, you can Google it, and I'm sure some of that stuff would come up too. But
that's a very dangerous.
Yeah,
thing
no.
I know from experience.
I would, if you know someone in recovery, don't be afraid to reach out to them. The Phoenix is a good thing. Go on the app, go to one of the events, meet some people there, talk to them. Go to an AA meeting or an NA meeting, whatever you're struggling with. There's different avenues of recovery as well. There's tons of them, Dharma and all kinds of stuff you can look up online. So, and just check it out, try it out. You know, just go to one, see what it's like, meet some people.
So I think like one of like the most heartbreaking parts of our world is seeing people fall out of their journey, out of their recovery program, and it doesn't always end well. They don't always get back on track. What do you think separates the people? What do you think it is that allows some people to succeed where others don't?
I mean, there could be a lot of different things. There could be a lot. I think fellowship is huge when it comes to recovery, not isolating. Having that group of friends, having those people you could turn to when you need help, having the people that you can reach out to, and just go out and have fun. Like, you can have fun in sobriety. Like, who would have thought that you can have fun on a Friday night without alcohol, or go to different events and have cookouts and all kinds of different things without alcohol and have fun, like going bowling and having fun, you know, going to a football game, watching a sporting event without alcohol can be fun. It's amazing what you can do without alcohol or drugs. But I think some people, you know, if finding a higher power was huge for me, and fellowship, those are two things for me that, you know, prayer and meditation and fellowship for me, I think, are like two of the biggest things for me.
Define fellowship for the viewers. So
fellowship would be, again, just having that sober group of people that you know. You know, meeting them at meetings, Phoenix events, whatever it might be. People you can go and hang out with and have fun with, and call when you're struggling with something. You know, or find a sponsor, someone that can guide you through. Sponsor someone who guides you through the 12 steps of NA or AA, and walks you through it because they've been through it before, and teaches you how to live those 12 steps as a way of life. Fellowship, I mean, you're struggling with something, you need a long list of people you can call if you want to pick up a drink or a drug. Because if your sponsor is the first phone call you make, he might not always pick up. Your second phone call, they might not pick up. Your third, fourth, fifth, sixth, they might not pick up, depending on what time you're calling them. You know, at that point, you know, how many more phone numbers do you have? Or are you going to run back down that list and keep calling them until someone picks up? But yeah, fellowship's just a group of people that you can, sober group of people, you know, friends, family, whatever it might be, that support each other.
I think one of my favorite things about what the Phoenix does, and I think is a huge part of why they're successful, is they've made recovery fun. They've made it exciting. They've made it because the thing that was the most off-putting to, I think, most people about AA is that it's really two things. A, they don't want to sit there and say, "Hi, my name is Michael Smith and I have a problem, or I'm an alcoholic." They don't want to say that, because for them, I feel like it's a huge shot at their pride that they don't want to take a shot at, even though it's liberating to say it. They're just not. They don't want to say that. And the other part is the Christian Catholic aspect of it. It scares a lot of people because you know, there's a lot of people who are they're stalwart atheists and they don't want to hop into that.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to those people, who are considering recovery, but are scared of those two things?
Sure, I was scared of it when I came in.
Yeah.
I was raised Catholic, and once I hit, I can never remember what it's called, not First Communion, confirmation. Once my confirmation was over, my parents were like, you can continue to go to church or not, and I'm like, peace out, I'm done.
I'm out of here.
Yeah, and but I have a much different. I mean, I was never like totally against. Like, if someone was religious, it was like, good. That's fine for you. If that works for you, great. Just don't push it on me. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
As long as your religion's not making you harm people or kill people or do bad things, like, whatever, you know what I mean? Have fun.
You do you.
You do, yep, you do you. So when I did, I was afraid, because whenever I heard God, I thought it was a religion thing, and my mind would just shut off, and I'm like, I don't want to hear it, right? Anytime anyone said God. And then it's a spiritual thing. So finding a higher power, it doesn't have to be a Jesus or a Buddha or an Allah or any kind of deity in itself. It doesn't have to be a specific thing. It's just a power greater than you that's out there. The best thing that I heard in my early sobriety, when I was struggling, going through the steps and getting to this, around the second and third step, the early steps of finding that higher power was, someone compared it to the Force with Star Wars. You have a good Force and a bad Force, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you wake up in the morning, you can tune in. You have a choice. You can tune in with either one of them. You can connect with that good Force, and you can use that Force for good all day, and you can be a productive member of society and help other people and smile and be, and be good. Or you can tune into this bad Force and you can just be a dick, and just tap into that side, and that's how your day is going to go, and you can deal with the consequences of being a dick, which usually aren't very good, or you can deal with the consequences of being a very happy, cheerful, and helpful person, which usually results to good things.
Yeah.
99% of the time. So that was a good thing for me in the beginning, where it's like, okay, it's not like because they say you can choose AA itself as a higher power, like a meeting, because it's like they're staying sober, they are, they're a power greater than you. You can choose a tree, you can choose something, you can make up your own higher power.
Yeah. Whatever empowers you.
It's what empowers you, absolutely. But that was one of those things, and my higher powers kind of evolved since then, but it kind of still sticks with that aspect of like, I need to be a good person today, The motto for my home group back up north, kind of unwritten, was don't be a dick. Like, we'd always say that to each other, like, just don't be a dick. Like, it was how would you, if you went out of, when you're going to react with someone, if you're, get into a tuffle with someone or like an argument with someone, it's like, or you're going to treat someone a different way, it's like, how would you act if your home group was standing behind you, or if your family was standing behind you, or if your loved one or whoever was standing behind you? Would you still treat someone that same way? If you were going to treat them negatively, if that's the thought that came in your mind, is like, I'm going to harm this person, would you have that same thought and feeling if your home group or your loved one or someone like that was standing behind you?
That's powerful.
And chances are, if your mom was standing behind you, I probably wouldn't hit someone, depending on what the situation was. If they were going to harm me or my mom, I probably would do what I need to. But
violence is bad, but
yes.
Self-defense is a separate story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, there's no reason to log off and just hit someone for calling you a name because maybe they're going through their own shit.
No.
So, yeah, I would say just give it a shot. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I pray in the morning to a higher power, something that I thought prayer was only for religion. It's not, because you can make a higher power, like I said, kind of whatever you want it to be. Because I always thought there was something out there that created us, right? There's something out there that created the world, the universe, and all of that stuff. What it is, I don't know. But it's certainly a power greater than me when it can create all of this stuff. The only thing that it gave us was our own free will. But when I align my will with my higher powers, usually things go well for me.
Boom, there you go.
So,
yeah. So I have a friend actually who runs a church here in Channelside. I actually talked to him about this, and to me, like, the higher power, God, is like, what is God actually? And full disclaimer, I'm a Buddhist, but I still think about Catholicism, Christianity, because I was raised Christian, going to church. So it's still a very deep part of my core values. But when I think of like God / higher power, to me that is, what is the ultimate version of yourself, of a human being, of Peter, of Rex? What is like the best version? Like, all flaws taken out. Like what am I doing? What kind of decisions am I making? How am I taking care of the people around me?
Yeah.
Like, what is the ultimate flawless version of that, which I don't know if that's achievable or not, but what is that? And I use that as my basis of what is God, of what I'm capable of, and I use that as what I strive towards.
I like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
my thoughts towards religion, again, more power to anyone who is religious, and that's their way of doing things. I just like recovery. There's no like one path to recovery. No. There's no like, I don't want someone coming to me and going, Jesus is the only way, Buddha is the only way. Like, there's, find one that works for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My sponsor down here told me, he's like, you know what? He's like, maybe you don't like religion because you just never found the one that's for you.
Boom.
How many of them are out there? There's thousands of them, right?
Yeah.
You just haven't found the one that you like. It's
the flying spaghetti monster.
Yeah, right?
Actually, if you're in Clearwater, have you heard the good word about Scientology?
Yeah, we won't get into that. We won't get into that.
Yeah.
I mean, and people shouldn't, people shouldn't in meetings say that there's only one specific God, because that's not what A is about. There is no one God that everyone needs to rely on to get sober. Because there are, in the book, the big book, which is the book for Alcoholics Anonymous, there is a chapter on atheists and agnostics. We agnostics. So there are people who don't believe in a God or believe in religion or stuff like that get sober. It absolutely can happen. Again, there's no one way to recover. There's no one way to do this thing. So, but if you're struggling, there's a lot of different ways to do it. You just got to find out what works for you, And if you're still alive and you're still breathing, there's still hope. So
2 thumbs up on that day.
Yeah. So, but don't be afraid to reach out. If you have that anxiety or your fear or you're just scared to make that phone call, like just like now, like meetings, it's like I don't know if I'm tired. Do I really want to go to this meeting? Feel so much better after going to it, right?
Yeah.
So chances are you're gonna feel so much better after making that phone call. So if you're struggling,
you're going to be working with recovery for the rest of your life. Do you know?
I think.
Question, I know. Can you predict the
I
next 50 years of your life?
Do I want to be? I'd like to be involved in it in some way, shape, or form. Absolutely. Be it with an organization like the Phoenix, Recovery Epicenter, whatever it might be. I think it would be good to still be involved in it in any way, shape, or form. When I first moved down here, when I was Googling sober gym, I'm like, oh, how cool would it be to like run my own sober gym, you know what I mean? Like it's geared towards people in recovery. Like I want to be able to help. It helped me so much in recovery, the fitness and nutrition aspect of it. and just how I feel and how it's bettered my recovery. Because your fitness and nutrition and your overall health can affect your attitude, your mental, physical, everything, which can then lead back to poor habits and things that could eventually lead to relapse as well. So keeping those things, a triangle, so to speak, like a tripod here, is mind, body, and soul. If I can keep my mind sharp, my body healthy, and my soul filled, I'm going to be good. One of those three things go, and that tripod's going to eventually tip. So I got to continue to focus on those three things. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to stay in the recovery field as much as I can. You know, it's not my only recovery. Like, I don't rely on that to stay sober, but it's a big part of it. You know, I get a constant reminder every day of people calling me up going, I'm in rehab, and I go, what happened? It's the question I always ask people, where are you at? What's going on? What led you there? You know, oh, you're in rehab? Why? You know, and I get to hear all these people's stories of, you know, oh, I did this is what I did. I screwed up, you know. And it's just a reminder. I probably talk to a minimum, even if it's not a full conversation and a full assessment, a minimum of at least a dozen people a day, where I'll hear a story of how they're struggling and what they're going through, just on the phone. So
it's got to be heavy on the soul.
It can be. And I mean, I don't want to say like you get numb to it, but I feel bad in the same aspect of like, I can't do more for people. And it sucks that there's people who are looking for health, who like looking for help and don't have like insurance to cover them in rehab or a detox or something like that, where they have to go to like extremes in order to get help to detox or whatever. Because if they're struggling and they're completely hammered or they want to quit and they don't have insurance, like, it sucks. Like, most of the time someone has to go into a hospital and Baker Act themselves.
Yeah.
You know? And then it's like, okay, we're going to bring you in, they'll put you in a padded room and detox you, and like, but then after that, they're still like, where do you go after that? Right? So there are programs out there that can help in those aspects, but for the most part, you know, a lot of people are stuck, and it's unfortunate. So I'd like to be able to see more help in that.
Can they get unstuck?
They can get unstuck. It's possible. There's that line of trudge the road to happy destiny in the AA book.
Trudge the road of
yeah. So there's at the end of on page 164 of the big book, it says, well, yeah, I only know that because it was part of my home group up north. It says, I will surely meet you as we trudge the road to happy destiny. And trudge is like, you know, it's not skip gleefully and happy and like it's easy. Like it's going to be tough. You know, it's not going to be easy. Things are going to take time. You're not going to get your kids back tomorrow. You're not going to get your job back tomorrow. You're not going to, you know, feel like $1 million tomorrow. But it's focusing on the today, the now, and what can I do today to better myself, to better my recovery, to get better and do what's the next right thing I can do right now. Because I can't change yesterday. I can't change my actions yesterday, and I can't worry about tomorrow because I have no idea if tomorrow is even going to happen. So when you start worrying about those two things, you can't focus on the today and the now. You can't be in this moment.
You can't change it, and you can't stop it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's good. I wish there was easier ways for some people to get help. I hate hanging up the phone with someone not being able to help them in some way. I can lead them to a shelter. There's shelters around, but most of the time they're full, you know? So just trying to provide them with the most resources I can.
I think about that from time to time where I'm like, I kind of wish it was easier to get these people help. But at the same time, if it was that easy to get people help, I feel like it would get taken for granted and less people would get helped that way. Like there's almost like a beauty in the struggle of hopping over every single hurdle and tripping and busting your face, you know, every few meters.
Yeah.
Like it almost makes the recovery journey or even just the journey of life that much sweeter when you actually when you fought for something.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for everything that you do.
Yeah.
It's making a huge impact and it's helping a lot of people.
Yeah. I'm grateful to do it. I'm grateful I'm able to do it. It's, again, fulfilling and rewarding, but I mean, it's just the fact that I can help people. It's awesome. And seeing the success stories is what's amazing too, because being in the recovery, you do see a lot of people relapse, a lot of people, and it's so hard to like. Some people, they just have that ego or that mentality of like, oh, I can do this, I got this. It's like, I'm trying to tell you, like, I've seen it 100 times, like, please don't go do this, you know? And they go and do it, and it's like, the chances of them being successful in their recovery when they make whatever choice it is that they're gonna go do, it's like, you know, you just shake your head and pray and hope it works out for them, because the other 100 people you saw do it before them weren't successful in that. So, but I mean, hey, we're all stubborn in early recovery, right?
Yeah.
I've only picked up one chip, but you know, it's not a bragging thing. It's not a gloating thing. I've just been fortunate for now, you know, because there's always a if or a when. There's always a possibility if I don't continue to do what I need to do on a day-to-day basis of. There's always a possibility, right? So, but it's just, yeah, it sucks seeing those people, but it's awesome seeing the success stories. The people who, what they went through, what they've gone through, they come into the sober living home, and then there's people that like own their own business now, and they're being successful. You know what I mean? And they're picking up guys at the house because they need help, you know, for the day, cutting down trees or whatever it is that they're doing, and they're successful.
It's pretty wicked.
So, yeah. Those are great success stories. And things like this, it's just fun. It's great.
Well, thank you for all that you do. Any, all right, two final closing questions. I feel like I already know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. If you could have any impact on the world, what kind of impact would you have?
If I could have any impact on the world?
Yes.
Ooh, that's a good one. I mean, I'd love to have an impact with one of the things I'm working on with nutrition. You know, it was a struggle for me, my relationship with food, and just overall health in general. I would love to be able to have an impact with people in the world on just nutrition and health in general. I know it's kind of a vague thing, not like a specific thing.
Oh, that's perfect. That's beautiful.
But no, I want to be able to help people in that aspect. You know, some of the reasons why I got a personal trainer cert, a nutrition coaching certification. And I wanted to focus it on the people in recovery, but I can do it I want to utilize it for anyone, you know, because you don't have to be struggling with drugs and alcohol.
There's some people going through some PTSD.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. So, just struggling with eating in general, you know, like I said, I was 300 pounds. I had a very unhealthy relationship with food. And it's gotten a lot better. I'm an alcoholic, so that that sugar thing, you know, when I have that one, sometimes it's like I gotta have more, you know, it trips that allergy. But I've learned ways to deal with that and suppress that, and you know, discipline myself with it. So I'd love to be able to help people out with that kind of stuff.
That's awesome, man.
Besides recovery stuff, obviously, impact.
Yeah. Any closing statements before we close this out? Anything you want to say?
I mean, nothing that I haven't said already. I mean, if someone's struggling, there's avenues, there's ways, there's people to reach out to. You know, you're not the only one going through it. And again, if you got breath in your lungs, there's hope. You know, don't give up a struggle. If you're going through something, call someone, talk to them, go to a meeting, seek that help out. You know, things get better. Again, it's not going to get better overnight, and it's going to be baby steps. But you know, it just one day at a time, step by step. You know, it gets better and things come back. And I'm blessed to have the life that I have now. You hear it a lot from people in the rooms. It's borrowed time, you know. But I'm trying to make the best of it with what I have, and impact and help whoever I can. But yeah, if you're struggling, pick up the phone, call someone. Yep.
Did you did you see? I don't know if you follow UFC, but or you know who Paddy Pimblett is.
No.
So he recently had a fight where he won, and then after the fight, they do the octagon interview. He actually let it be. He told the world that like his friend just 36 hours prior to the fight. So Thursday evening, his friend like offed himself. Friday morning, he got the text.
Oof.
And he carried that with him into the fight.
Wow.
And he said something that I will never forget, which is, I'd rather deal with you crying on my shoulders than me crying at your funeral.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's hugely impactful.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
yep.
Thank you so much for what you do.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, man. It was great. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.